Chiefs Kingdom, what's up? Gary McKenzie back with another episode on RGR Football. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 10 keys for the Chiefs season in 2022. So this video is all about 10 points that I've outlined that I think if the Chiefs cover these bases, cover these 10 focal points, they'll have a very successful year. But before we get into those, I want to take a moment to do the fan shout out. And this week's fan shout out goes to Avery Fleming. Last week, I asked the commenters to give me suggestions for what they think this show should be named. So Ryan has requested that I give a little name to this show, and a lot of them have been floated out there. Believe in the numbers or believe the numbers. Inside the numbers was another one that was suggested. And Avery had several comments where he was just throwing names out right and left. And he had me laughing on some of them. They were pretty good. And one of them that he recommended was Projectile Points. And he says he likes that name because all the numbers are being shot out and on point. So that made me chuckle. I really appreciated that. And I appreciated everyone who took the time to give a suggestion. I still haven't landed on a name for the show. So if you want to comment and give me some more suggestions, I really appreciate it. So once again, thank you, Avery. Shout out goes to you. Hope you're having a great day. Now I'm going to split the screen and we'll get on to our other points. So, key to the season for the Chiefs in 2022, number one, is the Chiefs need to improve on fourth down defensively. So, as we mentioned in a prior video, the Chiefs stopped 38% of the fourth down attempts that they faced in 2021. That was in the bottom third of the NFL. I want the Chiefs to be in a position in 2022 where teams are lining up to go for it, and I'm happy because of that. I want teams to go for I want to be in a position where I want teams to go for it on fourth down against the Chiefs, and I want to be in that position because I think the Chiefs are going to stop them. So if the Chiefs are able to have an improved fourth down defense in 2022, that's going to help them in a multitude of ways, and that's one of the keys for the season. I want to note that these aren't in any particular order. They're just 10 keys to the season. Number two, the defensive rookies need to have an immediate impact. So Brett Veach, during the offseason in 2021, was approached with an offensive line that needed a lot of work. And he went and drafted a number of players along the offensive line, as well as addressing it in free agency that completely transformed the Chiefs' outlook at that position grouping. The Chiefs now have one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL, and Veach was able to do that in one off season. So we've mentioned before on this channel that the Chiefs are 40-2 when Mahomes is a starter and they give up 27 or less points. So if the Chiefs are able to put a good defense on the field, good things will happen. I've argued many times that Patrick Mahomes with a good defense would be one of the hardest versions of the Chiefs to beat. I think that Mahomes plus good defense equals an almost unbeatable Chiefs team. So during the draft, Veach went and he drafted several players: Karloftis, McDuffie, Joshua Williams, Leo Chenal, Brian Cook. A lot of guys that you want to hope immediately have an impact on the defense. If they do, then good things are in the works for the Chiefs. Now, Steve Spagnuolo, he has a history of playing rookies early. So these guys are going to get a shot. These rookies are going to get a shot on this defense to show what they've got. And if they come out of the gate strong, then look out. The rest of the NFL is in a lot of trouble. So that's my second point. The rookies that the Chiefs have on defense, they need to have an immediate impact. The third key to the season is that the offense needs to start hot. So this is your insurance. If the rookies don't come out strong and you see the classic Steve Spagnuolo defense where they incrementally improve throughout the year instead of starting out hot, then the offense is going to need to carry the water for the defense at the start of the season. So the Chiefs have um, an interesting circumstance to their 2022 season, especially at the beginning, and that's because they have the element of surprise. Not a lot of teams are going to know what the Chiefs are going to do at the start of the season because of their new personnel. For so long, it was Travis Kelsey and Tyreek Hill getting the lion's share of the targets. Now you've got several guys on the offensive side of the ball, including Travis Kelsey, that can make an impact. And what I would expect Andy Reid to do is just to really mix up his looks, mix up who they want to target. And you might have one week where Juju Smith Schuster has 100 yards. Next week, McCole Hardman has 100 yards. Next week, it's MVS. So the Chiefs have a lot of weapons at their disposal on offense, and they need to use that element of surprise early on in the season before teams can start to try to make their counterpoint or counter moves to stop the Chiefs' offense. They need to get on it early that way, they can one support their defense, and then two take advantage of that element of surprise. My fourth key to the season for the Chiefs is complementary team football. So, if you followed Andy Reid for a long period of time, you know that he has used this phrase countless amount of times. So, he's always talking about complementary team football, and basically what that is the offense putting the defense in a chance to succeed? And is the defense putting the offense in a chance to succeed? Are all units, special teams, defense, offense, working together? And when one sinks, the other rises, or are they disjointed? So last year, it seemed like the Chiefs had a lot of issues playing complementary team football because the offense would turn the ball over and put the defense in a bad position. It seemed like it was like week 8 or 9 in the year last year before the offense and defense and special teams really started to click together as one cohesive unit. So that's my fourth key takeaway going into the season is that the Chiefs offense and defense and special teams need to be in harmony with one another. They need to be playing off of each other. They need to be working together as a whole team to get the Chiefs where they need to go. Number 5, the first 8 games for the Chiefs in 2022 are critical. So looking at the schedule, in week 1, they have the Cardinals. Week 2, they have the Chargers. Week 3, they have the Colts, then the Buccaneers, then the Raiders, then the Bills, then the 49ers, and then the Titans. So both the Bills and the Titans, and you can maybe even argue the Chargers, are going to be in the running for one of the top spots in the AFC seeding for the playoffs. This first 8-game stretch for the Chiefs is brutal. If they can get out of this stretch with a record of 6-2, then I would expect that they have a good shot at getting the 1 seed. If they come out 4-4 or 5-3, things are going to be more difficult for them to get the 1 seed. They might end up with a 2 or a 3. So the Chiefs starting hot and playing well the first 8 weeks of the season are key. They can't come out like they did in 2021 if they want to get the number 1 seed um, and play like they did last year. They had a slow start last year. It's not typical for an Andy Reid team to have a slow start like that. So I would hope that in 2022 they reverse that trend from last year and run out and start out of the gates hot. Number 6, Andy Reid needs to take what the defense gives him. So classically, Andy Reid has always believed that you throw the ball to get the lead and you run the ball to maintain the lead. Anyone who follows Andy Reid knows that he usually has a 60-40 run pass mixture. He passes the ball 60% of the time, usually runs the ball 40% of the time. Last year, it followed that same trend. The Chiefs passed the ball 61% of the time, ran the ball 39% of the time. However, I want Reid to take what the defense gives him more often in 2022 than he has in the past. So there were games versus the Bengals and other teams where defenses were dropping 7, sometimes 8 guys into coverage, and the Chiefs still didn't run the ball with any regularity. The Chiefs have maulers on the offensive line. They've got big, strong guys like Trey Smith and Joe Tooney and Creed Humphrey that can push the pile. They can push defenders. Use that to your advantage. I want the Chiefs to be in a position where, as the season goes on, you're welcoming those 7-man drops because you know the Chiefs' offensive line will just take advantage of that and run the ball with effectiveness. So I don't really have much critiquing of Andy Reid's play calling because I do like the fact that he passes the ball a lot. But if teams are going to go light in the box, then the Chiefs need to be willing to take advantage of that. And at times last year, it seemed like Kansas City was passing too much in those super light looks that the defense was giving them. So I want Andy Reid just to have a little more awareness as far as what the defense is doing, and then taking advantage of that. He is a master at putting his players in a position to succeed. So I don't think this is a huge problem, but I do want to see the Chiefs take advantage more of those light boxes in 2022. The number 7 key is the pass rush has to improve. So last season in 2021, the Chiefs were 28th in the NFL with 31 sacks. They weren't getting it done as far as sacking the quarterback goes. But the strange thing is that they were uh, fifth in pressure percentage. So they were pressuring the quarterback the fifth most in the NFL last year, but the sacks didn't reflect that. So what gives? To me, this is an example of numbers being disjointed, and oftentimes things will regress towards the mean. So my take on this is that if the Chiefs have a high pressure percentage again in 2022, then they'll likely have much more than 31 sacks. They'll be much better than 28th in the league as far as sack totals go. They've got pieces like Carlos Dunlap, George Karloftis, Chris Jones, and Frank Clark, who looks to be rejuvenated after losing some weight and taking care of his body, giving up alcohol. So that unit does look like they might have a little more juice as far as where they're headed. So I think if the Chiefs can generate more of a pass rush in 2022, it's going to help them tremendously. And the Chiefs will benefit from a good pass rush more than your prototypical team. And that's because with Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball for the Chiefs offense, their opponents oftentimes are behind or they feel pressured. They need to throw the ball more often. And so if you have a good pass rush, it's going to impact the Chiefs' opponents more so than you would see a normal team. So if the Chiefs can get the pass rush right and they can get more sacks, it's going to be a really good sign for what's going to happen in 2022 for Kansas City. The number 8 item, can the Chiefs offense score quickly when needed? So this is one that I kind of plucked from some of the punditry, some of the talking heads that were out there mentioning that with Tyreek Hill's departure, the Chiefs no longer are going to have that guy who can absolutely blow the top off a defense and just catch the ball and run it for 50 yards for a touchdown. So this helped them in a lot of circumstances where they were down with a minute left or into the game situations where they needed a quick strike. Can the Chiefs offense in those situations find a way to score quickly without a guy like Tyreek Hill on the roster? My thought is that yes, I think they can do it because Mahomes can still throw the ball down the field. You don't have to throw it 10 yards and expect a 40-yard run after the catch. So this is one area where I'm a little bit curious to see how things go for the Chiefs next year. So that's why I had it as my number 8 key. Can the offense score quickly when needed? Number 9, third and fourth down offense without Tyreek Hill. So this is out of the same vein as number 8. It has to do with the departure of Tyreek Hill. And I bring this up because the Chiefs were extremely effective in those short out routes that they would throw Tyreek Hill on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 4th and 2. It was almost indefensible. Tyreek Hill would take 2 steps towards his defender and then cut immediately to the right or the left, and he would be wide open by 3 or 4 yards. Quick, easy dump pass from Mahomes to Tyreek Hill there and slides down, and they get the first down. They're not going to have that component to their offense in 2022. So what are they going to do to replace that really effective third and fourth down play? Um, they've got bigger body guys, and there's a lot of things the Chiefs can do with those type of receivers. So I'm curious to see how they handle third and fourth down differently in 2022 than they have in the past. So that's the number 9 key. Can they convert on third and fourth down as effectively as they have in the past with Tyreek Hill without him in 2022? And then the number 10 item, the defense needs to improve on yards per play allowed. So in 2021, they gave up 5.9 yards per play, which was tied for the second worst in the NFL. And teams that gave up 5.9 yards per play or more in 2021 finished with a 19-48-1 record. So they won 19 games, lost 48, and tied one game. The Chiefs defense can't be giving up a lot of yards per play because it'll spell disaster. It could potentially spell disaster. The other teams, not named the Chiefs, that gave up that many yards per play were abysmal in 2021. So this is another area where the Chiefs have to improve, and you want to look at the Chiefs' revamped defense to make an improvement on that in 2022. So we'll see whether or not Brett Veach did the job again, like he did for the offensive line in 2021. We'll see if he did the job to fix the defense. If he did, that's 2 years in a row. And for my money, if he does that, he'll be perhaps the best GM the Chiefs have ever had, because that's a phenomenal accomplishment to fix two position groupings, one being the entire defense, in 2 years in a row. So that's my number 10 item. The defense has to improve on how they handle, or how well they do as far as yards per play allowed goes. So that ends the 10 keys for the Chiefs 2022 season, at least from my opinion and my standpoint. I really appreciate y'all for hanging around, watching the video. Remember, if you like what you see here, make sure to subscribe, like the video. It helps the algorithm figure out what to send to other people who may be interested in seeing Chiefs content on YouTube. So as always, I really appreciate everything you do as far as commenting, liking, subscribing, telling your friends and family. Appreciate y'all. And with that, I am so pumped for the 2022 season. I think it's going to be a great year. I can feel it. Let's go, Chiefs. Here's to a kickoff to another great year in Kansas City. Thanks a lot. Gary, signing out.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.